Chapter 23. 11:15 the following night found me waiting for Victoria Lundquist's limousine and preparing myself to feel like a schmuck. I always felt like a schmuck when I saw Victoria. I had rebuffed her attentions in high school. I wasn't the most popular guy back then. I wasn't a jock and I was bookish, but I was good looking enough with a sense of humor and an intensity that appealed to enough of the girls enough of the time. Victoria was very smart, with a quick wit, but she was a real miskite, using attitude and false maturity to mask her pain. So we were just good friends. What I didn't know in high school was that Victoria was an ugly duckling waiting to grow up into a swan. After graduating, I didn't see her again until we were both approaching 30. By then, it was too late. When I bumped into her at a homecoming game, she gave me a look that said loud and clear, "See what you missed?" Happily married, she relished her revenge, which she could take simply by walking into the room. A high profile publicist, Victoria spent her days and many of her nights shepherding the flavors of the month around the city, hitting hot spots to see and be seen. Tonight she was entertaining a pop idol only recently of drinking age, only recently graduated from a boy band that I had never heard of. I had told Victoria I needed information on what was going on behind the scenes at the Melfi's restaurants. She had told me to be ready for, quote, an instructive evening. So there I was, waiting inside the vestibule at the top of my stoop to keep warm. I was decked out in my new casual finest, bought that afternoon for the occasion. Black Italian loafers with no socks, black linen trousers, a white designer t-shirt, and an unconstructed black silk blazer that looked really cool if I turned the sleeves once and pushed them up my forearms. At 11:25, the limousine pulled up. It was one of the really long ones they call a 12-pack. As I ran down the steps, the driver hopped out and opened the rear door with a flourish. Inside, a bench seat ran across the back, and a long banquette ran up the other side and curved around the front. Lounging on the back seat with one leg up was a man-child of indeterminate age and almost indeterminate sex, with glossy, curly locks done up in a Romanesque style. Between his legs were two girls, neither of whom had gotten my no midriff memo. They might have had fabulous figures, but I couldn't be sure. Those low hip-hugger pants show off the top of the thong, but they also expose the poochy belly. The result manages to be attractive and repellent at the same time, an effect that you'd think would be hard to achieve, and why would you want to? Victoria sat on the side bench. She wore a business suit, short and tight of jacket and skirt, a stunning contrast to the two acolytes. It may have been gray, but she made it look like a Macintosh apple ripe to bursting, and the impulse to bite was almost overpowering. Instead, I gave her a polite buss on the cheek and then lost my balance as the limo accelerated away from the curb. She grabbed my hand as I fell and pulled me down next to her. Smooth. She held my hand, and her thigh pressed against my hip as she leaned over my lap to get the boy's attention. "Chase, this is Zach. Zach, this is Chase." Over the excruciatingly loud music, I could hear that she used a tone usually reserved for children who were not only young, but also slow. He didn't seem to notice. "Nice to meet you," I said. "Hey, man." He waved vaguely and resumed his nuzzling with the concubines. It looked like a ritual on exhibit in the Bronx Zoo monkey house. The girls, apparently, didn't warrant introduction. Each time the limo braked and then accelerated, I rocked against Victoria, and my arousal was going to be embarrassment when it was time to stand. Victoria's arched eyebrows and pursed lips showed amusement at my discomfort as the display of grooming practices progressed to a how-to groping demonstration. I had stepped into a Madonna video. "Where are we going?" I called over the din. "What? Where are we going?" Victoria smiled. "We're taking you for a ride, Zach. Enjoy it." Easier said than done. The overload on the senses was disorienting. The visuals of the cavorting trio, the cloying smell of the girl's body spray, the bone-crushing volume of the rap music. What was happening on the inside was even more disconcerting. My memories of the high school Victoria collided with present reality, the mature and self-possessed creature beside me, pressing my hand to her rib cage, the swell of a breast cupped in lace visible from time to time as our ride swayed and her blouse billowed gently away from the curve of her neck. I tried to empty my mind so as not to collapse under the weight of regret and if only. I was granted reprieve when the limousine pulled to a halt and the driver opened the door. I stepped out and reached back to give Victoria my hand. How she managed to get out in the short skirt and high heels without either falling or sharing the vision of her nether regions with me and the rest of the passers-by on the avenue was beyond me. As Chase and the girls got out, I saw the word hentai painted on the sidewalk by a multicolored laser. Two bouncers in black Hugo Boss suits stood behind the velvet barricade guarding the portal. One of them stepped forward and cleared a path for Chase, and, by default, for the rest of us. As we followed him into the restaurant, I realized that for the first time in my life, I was part of an entourage. The inside of hentai was a scene out of a Fellini movie as reimagined by Tarantino. Halogen fixtures in the ceiling cast stark, well-defined pools of light on the floor, creating a strobophobic effect as we were ushered down a long walkway towards the dining room. We were shielded from the bar on the right by a shoulder-high wall, and I couldn't see what they had on tap. Everything was black marble, except for the blood-red bar where patrons stacked 3 deep awaited the bartender's attention. Etched into the mirror behind the bar were hentai images that would preclude bringing children here, regardless of the time of day. The patrons at the bar turned their heads in a wave as we passed. The privileged new arrivals, the people who get to go to the back. Victoria led, followed by Chase, who had an arm around each of the temple prostitutes. I brought up the rear. I heard his name jumping like a mantra out of the ambient noise. That must be the way the world sounded to him all the time, no matter where he went. Little wonder these people began to feel no longer human, as if the rules that apply to the rest of us don't apply to them. They are worshipped, names chanted like Hindu deities, images gazed upon like Catholic icons. The wave of his presence resonated down the bar as we appeared and disappeared, appeared and disappeared, appeared and finally disappeared for good through the stone archway set into the waterfall at the end of the bar. A tall woman ushered us into the next room. If she was impressed by Chase, it didn't show. She knew that her modeling career was going to skyrocket any minute, and I'd have to say I agreed with her. Spotlights cast beams of light at artful angles about the room. She was momentarily backlit as she passed through one of them, and I saw she was nude under the almost translucent kimono. That should help with repeat business. The back room was a contrast to the one we had left, only in that it was not nearly as crowded. The bar picked up and continued on our right, again with a low wall separating it not from a runway but from the dining area. The more important patrons were granted access to the rear bar so they could wait for their tables, if they had to wait at all, away from the bump and grind of the hoi polloi. Built into the low marble wall, off center, were red marble discs large enough to hold drinks or plates of appetizers. One could sit on stools at either the bar or the wall, surveying the room for acquaintances among the diners scattered throughout the ample dining area. Unlike the bar in front, here there was plenty of elbow room. One couple dined at the bar a few stools down from a movie star who was sitting alone, with his hand reaching slowly and steadily for the drink that had just been placed in front of him by none other than Dale, the bartender from Agave. Just my luck. It hadn't occurred to me that I might bump into him here. He looked our way as the kimono, what there was of it, led us to a table in the far corner of the room. I ducked my head, hoping he didn't see me. At our table, the kimono floated away, replaced by an equally gorgeous woman in a similar getup, who positioned herself effortlessly in one of the revealing spotlights. Thus poised, she asked if she could bring us drinks. This was enough to peel Chase's attention away from his attendants. Nah, he said, I want something special. We have many signature cocktails, sir, said the waitress, as well as many fine sake. I'd be happy to bring you a list. Nah, that's okay. I think I know this bartender. I want to talk to him. Just bring us the menus, if you would, said Victoria. Certainly, she said, and I admired her backside as she wafted away. Victoria's hand on my thigh brought my attention back to her. Amusement at my discomfort was dancing in her eyes. Back in a mo, said Chase. As he sauntered towards the bar, the girls fell silent and still, listless as party balloons when there was no breeze, and with about as much substance. Shouldn't you be going with him? I asked Victoria. Why? Because they'll probably card him, I said. Hardly, she said. She smiled as if she knew a secret, and I wondered what Chase was going to bring back from the bar. I was badly in need of a drink, and I was a little peeved that I wasn't going to get to choose one for myself. The sake list interested me. I had heard there was great variety to sake, but I knew very little about it. I could also have used a little fire in my belly to calm the one burning a little lower down. My frustration must have shown, because the hand on my thigh gave a little squeeze, which didn't help matters. It's okay, Zach. You'll get what you need. What I need right now is a drink. At that, Chase returned to the table. This place is boring, he said. I want to go back to my hotel. Soon, Chase, said Victoria. Soon. We've got to eat something, if only to keep up appearances. Fine, he said petulantly. But let's make it quick, okay? I'll make sure it is, said Victoria as our waitress returned. As she started to place menus in front of us, Victoria waved them away. We don't need these, she said. We have a late party to get to. Just bring us an assortment of appetizers. Tell Kyohei they're for me. He knows what I like. And 2 bottles of Manatsuru Maho. The waitress said, Of course, Ms. Lundquist. And off she went. Mono what? I asked. Manatsuru Maho, a very fine sake. Also very expensive. You'll enjoy it. How expensive? With the markup here? Somewhere around $300 a bottle. I was surprised. I'd never paid that much for a bottle of wine, even back in my high earnings days. Now that I was into beers, I was used to paying a lot less, even for the best. The waitress returned with the sake and 5 large stemless wine goblets on a tray. I was surprised. I thought you drank sake out of those tiny little cups. The waitress poured and handed the cup to Victoria. I'm sure it's fine. Just pour it for everyone. Thank you. She did so and left. When I drank, I was in for another surprise. It was chilled. Wow, I said. Victoria suppressed another smile. A little different than the cheap stuff that burns your throat at the corner sushi place? I sipped again. Cool and smooth going down, with a pleasing warmth when it landed. This could grow on me. I tried to isolate different qualities and flavors as it passed my palate. I was going to have to learn more about this stuff, and I watched as Chase tossed back cup after cup, with no apparent attempt at appreciation. The girls didn't touch theirs, and we all waited in sullen silence for the food. When it came, it was amazing. Sushi and sashimi arranged from the deceptively simple to the outrageously complex, artfully arranged on a large stoneware platter around a pyramid of black rice, with swirls of a wasabi aioli tying the whole thing together. I ate slowly. Chase dug into his as if it was a bag of sliders from White Castle. There was no need to disguise my feelings. He was oblivious. As he gobbled the last piece, Victoria signaled for the check. When the waitress brought it, Victoria indicated that she should give it to me. The price of information, she said, with a mysterious smile. My pleasure, I said, handing the waitress my credit card. Victoria pulled out a very small cell phone. I don't even want to guess where it had been concealed. She called the driver, told him we were coming out, and stood as the waitress returned with my charge slip. Chase and the girls were already heading for the door as I opened the folder. Suddenly, I was needed something stiffer than sake, and cheaper, too. Victoria was gazing down at me with a cryptic smile. Sign it, Zach. Don't say a word. Don't ask any questions. Not here, not now, or we're all going to regret it. She turned on one of her delicate heels and followed the others. Her look and tone made it clear that there had been no mistake. I signed the slip and followed in her wake. Outside, Chase was already in the limo with his playmates, and Victoria was telling the driver to take him back to his hotel and put the charge and gratuity on her account. The limo pulled away, leaving us alone on the sidewalk. What the hell is going on? I asked. You'll figure it out. Is there a reason this evening cost me over $1,300? Call it payback for not sleeping with me when you had the chance. Looking at you now and knowing I can't have you is payback enough. She smiled. Seriously, I said, what the hell is going on here? Don't worry, Zach. Chase got your money's worth. It'll be going up his nose as soon as he gets back to his hotel, but you didn't hear it from me. People trust me to be discreet. If word gets around I'm not, that's the end of my career. So why are you trusting me with this? Why do you think, Zach? She said, and stepped forward. She stood close, head tilted back, her full lips slightly parted. It was suddenly very quiet, and the traffic on Columbus Avenue moved in slow motion. I heard my pulse beat. I thought you were happily married, I said. I am. But there's always one that got away, isn't there? Always some bitter with the sweet. And for every road we take, there are so many that we pass by. You must know that, better than most. She leaned into me and kissed me full on the mouth. I tasted the sake on her tongue. Then she pulled away and stepped into the deserted street. She stuck her hand out for a cab. One pulled over immediately. It happens for people like her, people who are christened into the covenant of the city. As she opened the cab door, she turned back to me. I'm happy, Zach, but that doesn't mean I don't dream about roads not taken. You're one of the good ones, Zach, one of the good dreams and one of the good guys. Make sure you find a girl who knows it. She climbed into the cab and shut the door. It sped away, leaving me in the street with my empty heart and her taste lingering in my mouth. I turned up the collar of my jacket and walked uptown, towards home, away from the small cluster of revelers outside Hentai, seeking one more late-night thrill before surrendering to fitful sleep and a bloodshot workday. Around me, the night bent out of shape, and the deserted streets of the district eerie and cinematic in the cold night. My chilled bones felt the rumble of the occasional truck passing over the cobblestones, syncopating with the chattering of my teeth as I headed east towards the subway. The remnants of the sake in my belly helped as I ignored the cold, tried to fit this new information about the Melfis in with what I already knew. It was no use, so I gave up. Maybe tomorrow I could put the pieces together. Right then I was too tired, too lost in loneliness and regret, the fantasy of Victoria. I wanted only to empty my mind. I don't remember the subway ride home. I don't remember walking up Columbus Avenue. I vaguely remember a noise behind me as I headed up the front stoop. Isolated images remain of what happened next. Hands grabbing me from behind, hurling me backwards down the stoop. The pain when the back of my head struck the iron gate at the bottom. I can recall the strong hands pulling me into the alcove under the stoop, away from the street. Feel the fists hitting everywhere, face, stomach, kidneys. Hear the voice shouting, "No more questions!" Suddenly, the overhead light and commotion I could hear but not see, not understand. Then, inexplicably, Mr. Pooey was gently cradling my head in his lap. "It's okay, Mr. Zack. He's gone now. You are okay, Mr. Zack. I call for help." I closed my eyes and let Mr. Pooey's voice fade to silence, let the light fade to darkness. And that's the end of chapter 24. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. And when you do, click the little bell icon so you get notifications of upcoming live streams and other readings, other events. And also head over to my website, MatthewArkin.com, and subscribe to my newsletter if you'd like. You'll get articles that I write on the craft of acting and writing.